embarking on. You are all welcome. This is February. We thank God. We want to use the opportunity also to welcome and recognize some of the governing council members who are in attendance. We welcome Dr. Chris Egu, who is the DG. I can see him online, and we welcome Mr. Adeola Oleyede. You are all welcome, and for the others who will be joining from the board, we also welcome them. We want to thank God for another opportunity. We will not take it for granted. The Lord who saw us through the last year on, we pray that He will also continue to see us through. You are all welcome. Today's lecture, which is on enhancing productivity through organizational knowledge management, will be handled by somebody that when I saw the abridged profile, I told the people that sent it, I said, this is intimidating. We have to do a breach of the abridged profile before we will get, so that we will not use 1 hour reading a breach profile. It was a powerful profile. I have not seen this. And when it comes to woman, this is a powerful woman. So I just pray that all of us will listen and gain from the wealth of knowledge of our dear sister, Dr. Maureen Omeibe. I will quickly go through the abridged of the abridged profile, because I call it abridged. If we are to read the profile, it will take us time. Dr. Maureen Omeibe is a distinguished leader, keynote speaker, development consultant, women advancement expert with unbridled passion for excellence. Dr. Maureen is a seasoned business executive with experience of close to 2 decades in corporate leadership, management, and organizational development. She's an executive director, Degab Group, Nigeria, an automotive and real estate company. She is the vice chairperson, Motorcycle Manufacturer Association of Nigeria. Dr. Maureen is a South Texas University certified train-the-trainers specialist. Dr. Maureen holds bachelor's degree in business admin, master's degree in public and international affairs, respectively, from the University of Lagos, a doctorate degree in leadership and management from London Bridge Business School, United Kingdom. Dr. Maureen is a board member, Motor Vehicle and Miscellaneous Assembly, Nigeria, board member, the Carpenter Foundation, executive member, Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, member, International Society for Organizational Development and Change, ISODC, USA, a fellow, Organizational Leadership and Development Network, Global, fellow, African Institute of Public Administration, Ghana, fellow, Institute of Management Consultants, fellow, Institute of Management Specialists, UK, fellow, Institute of Political Administration and Management, Nigeria, fellow, Institute of Professional Managers and Administrators, Nigeria, fellow, Center for Public Service and Productivity and Development, US, Nigeria chapter, member, Governing Council, Center for Organizational Leadership and Development, trustee, African Women in Leadership Organization, founding trustee, Africa Intellectual Resource Organization, AIORO. This is Dr. Maureen, who the center, I don't know how they were able to get her to speak to us, but this is the profile, in nutshell, a bridge of their bridge profile. And she will be speaking to us this morning on enhancing productivity through organization knowledge management. Dr. Maureen, you are welcome to this February lecture. The floor is for you. You are welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, my chairman. I don't know that people will go through the stress of reading out all of those things. It is a privilege for me to be here. I would say it is an honor because I am here in the midst of distinguished gentlemen and ladies that have made their mark in the science of time of their different endeavors. I find myself blessed and I'm coming here to share knowledge, but most important, I'm also coming here to learn because in the process of this knowledge transfer, I'm going to be listening to strong voices from across industries, and I'm not going to take that for granted. I thank the leadership of Center for Public Service Productivity and Development for giving me this opportunity. And I thank you, my chairman, and all the fellow that are in the house this morning. I thank Mr. Nelson, the ground engine room of the center. I am appreciative of this opportunity, and I am looking forward to having a very memorable moment with all of you here. I was made to understand that I have only 45 minutes. And the subject matter of discourse this morning is something that even in 2 hours, we are not able to ideate and interact on the subject. But we are going to do everything that we can to be able to utilize judiciously our 45 minutes. So what I have done for this knowledge transfer session, to be able to just have something that people can, softly take back home, is to divide this subject matter into 4 particular areas and decided to take the commonest aspect of this course to bring to the meeting room this morning. So we are going to discuss like a quarter of what this, room is supposed to have taken today, because that is the time we have. Time permitting, and if the center find it worthy, we can come back and interact again on this, because it is, when we are talking about knowledge management, organizational knowledge management is a very massive and broad subject matter, and it's not something that one can actually, diligently and exhaustively discuss within 45 minutes. But like I said, we will have something to take home. So we are going to be dealing with the commonest aspect of the subject matter. We are going to be dealing with simple, how we call it, simple statements and words coming from organization knowledge management as it affects productivity in organizations. We have broken it down and we are bringing it home in bits and pieces. And I do believe that even within the 45 minutes, we will have something to take home. So thank you very much, my chairman, for yielding the floor to me as we commence, this knowledge transfer session. Like I always say in everywhere that I have opportunity to speak, when we gather this way to have a conversation, so to discuss, I call this insightful conversation. I am talking to people that I know are also seasoned in their line of endeavor. So I'm just coming to share the bit I have, and then I open my heart and ear to also listen to them. What I always say is that when we come to have this kind of conversation or this kind of learning sessions, it is just a kind of a window that motivates us to go back home and study more, to go back home and look into the subject matter more, because we can hardly take in enough when we just come to sit and partake in a knowledge transfer session. We can never really take in enough. This is just a window that I am opening up for us to get back home at our time of convenience to study more about this subject matter. Because when we are talking about productivity, coming from a developing country, we will not play triviality with it. We will not joke with it, because if we are not productive enough and we are coming from an economy that is not very vibrant, what it means is that in whatever thing we are doing, either in our personal life, in our career life, or even in our organization life, there is tendency that we may just be merely getting by. And I do know that God did not create any of us to just get by. We are created to do things and do it, massively, do it in such a way that it will impact our generation, it will impact our territory, and it will impact everybody that we are directly or indirectly connected with. So I go in to start. I would like to ask, can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, it's clear enough, right?
Yes,
Very, very clear.
Okay, beautiful. So we are starting with just these brief outlines. We are going to be looking at organization and its identities. It is important we touch on identities because the people gather things together and they call it organization. And our concern here at the Center of Public Service Productivity and Development is to put things in proper perspectives, because we are talking about public service and we are talking about development. So whatever thing that is counterproductive to effective, efficient, and excellent public service and that of development, it is not going to be we will not pay attention to it. So we are trying to motivate people. We are trying to bring people's attention to what organization identity should look like. Because we have several types of organization, but there are ones that are really acceptable in our society. There are the ones that are really acceptable and is compatible with the purpose of God for mankind. And that is why it is very key to me and to this subject matter we are discussing this morning, that we highlight these identities so that should we as individual fellows of this center, or should we as professionals or individual citizens of this country or individual citizens of our respective countries, should we be making an error or living in an error, gathering something and running it and thinking that is an organization, we can go back and make changes, because organization must be compatible with the purpose of God for mankind. If you are running an organization that is destroying mankind, that is destabilizing the plan of God for this world, that is crippling the society, it is not what we want to be encouraging you to continue to do. So we are looking at organization and its identity so that we'll be able to connect effectively, connect at the right, at the right spot of what organizations should look like. Then we are also looking at understanding knowledge economy, because we are talking about knowledge management. It is important to understand the context, the economic context of where you are talking about this knowledge management. If you do not understand the economy of knowledge in your environment, in your territory, it may be difficult for you to be able to effectively manage knowledge. Because if you do not understand, for instance, the challenges, the constraints, and the nature of the economy that you are operating in, it is almost like it's going to be a confusion to you. You'll be meeting a lot of issues trying to, manage knowledge. And when we are talking about organization, we will come to know that we are not just talking about a very massive organization somewhere that has chains of institutions and companies under them. What we are trying to discuss here this morning is such that even as we are talking about it, you begin to relate it to your individual life. You begin to relate it to your family life. Because at the end of the day, every individual is actually an organization on its own. We are all organisms. And at our own individual, circumference, we have something that we are discussing organization knowledge. Also in the outline, we are looking at organization knowledge management. We are looking at simple ways. When we say ways that knowledge management could be implemented, we are just looking at the simplest ways, because I know that if I began to go into knowledge management systems, that is establishment of knowledge management systems, an hour will not be enough for me to be able to pass the information that I have in this material across to us this morning. So I just highlighted the simplest ways that knowledge management could be implemented so that we can just go home with that. Because going into establishment of knowledge management systems, there are various strategies, there are various systems, and they are quite large. I wouldn't want us to go into that because of the time that we have. Then we also have intersection of knowledge and productivity, because there is an intersection of knowledge and productivity. There is something that is webbing knowledge and productivity together, making it very, very important, for knowledge managers to understand the confluence, where that intersection and why that intersection is occurring. Then we're also going to be looking at catalyzing productivity through knowledge management. That is just improving productivity through knowledge management. So we are going to go to the next slide. We start with what is organization. There are various definitions of organization. There is quite many. There are old ones, there are ones that have been there, and there are latest ones. But for the purpose of this conversation this morning, I stick to two that I believe is very relevant and is in good standing with what we are talking about this morning. Because we are talking about productivity, we are discussing in the context of an organization. We are discussing knowledge management in the context of an organization. So it is important we understand organization in such a way that we are coming to an organization, we are running an organization, and we are making ourselves very active member of organization. In such a way that we are not just looking at our bottom lines. We are not just looking at our objectives, but rather we are looking at the entire system of the organization. So loosely defined, an organization is a group of people consciously cooperating with a common purpose. That is a loose definition of organization. It could reflect what an organization is, but it is not an accurate, it's not an adequate definition of what an organization is. Because a group of people can consciously actually be cooperating with a common purpose. But the ground of their cooperation is generating something, like I mentioned before, that is countering the existence of mankind, the progress of mankind. And when that is happening, we cannot rear our head and say that we are running organization. So this is a loose definition of organization. Then another definition by a very simple businessman, Louis Allen. Louis Allen is just a very simple timber businessman, but I am in love with his definition of organization. He said that organization is the process of identifying and grouping the work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively together in accomplishing. We can see a businessman, Louis Allen, who unfortunately is already late, has a lot of things that he had identified. He has a lot of things that he has identified in his own definition. And the thing that he identified, which I find very interesting, is that he talks about an organization identifying and grouping work. Because organization is riding on the back of work. There is an activity to be performed. There is an act to be performed. There is a task to be performed. And this is where we are talking about productivity. This is where productivity comes in. And he also identified that there is something called delegating responsibility. Organization cannot function without delegation. In every single organization that I've come across, there is always delegation. Somebody is delegating a responsibility because it is an institution. It has several hierarchies. It has several authorities. It has several leadership cadres. And what is ongoing across all these levels is delegation of responsibility. But behind that delegation of responsibility, there is defining. That means before you delegate, there is a need to define. You also mentioned authority. He mentioned the establishment of relationship, which is the most important thing that I saw this man integrated in his definition. Because a lot of managers, especially the managers of the old, they do not pay attention to relationships. And the truth of the matter is that there is no success anywhere if relationship is not streamlined, blossoming, and flourishing. Every achievement that is not made through cordial, smooth relationship amongst members of the organization, I will always say that it is not sustainable and it will not stand the test of time. So this simple businessman also identified establishing relationships in his definition, and that's why I picked it. And he said, for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively. And then we move to this one, which I find out is the most cogent definition as far as I'm concerned. Is from Peter Drucker. We all know who Peter Drucker is. According to Drucker, he said the purpose of an organization must be to enable ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I strongly believe in this definition. And I strongly think this is the closest definition of organization that will enable persons to know that in organization, it is not about what one person is doing. It says ordinary people. And it is not just about what the experts are doing. It is not what about the top management level is doing. It's not about what the middle management level is doing. It is actually about what the ordinary people in the organization is doing, and they are doing it extraordinarily. So those of us that are members of the organization and leaders of organization, I would like us to commit this to heart. Are you a member of an organization? Are ordinary people doing extraordinary things in your organization? If the answer is yes, then you are running an organization. So while others are so much concentrating, please, I would like to go back to that, please. Yes, while others are busy concentrating, Peter said that why people are thinking that others who work in organization and the people in them must be properly managed. Drucker is emphasizing on being properly led. People cannot be managed. In today's world, even in the world before, scholars didn't just get to know. You lead people. When you lead people, they do extraordinary things. But when you manage them, you are like putting them in a box or caging them. And there's always limitations in performance. There's always limitations in innovation. There's always limitation in capacity generation and building. But when we lead people in organization, that is where we can now see ordinary people do extraordinary things. And that's why I brought forth this definition. So let's move ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, change it. Yes, you can.
Yeah, we
Yes,
are.
yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you. We do.
Clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we move to the identities of organization. In this particular slide, I was thinking, okay, why don't I just do features of organization? But I know that every one of us know what features of organization is all over the place. Even terrorist organizations have these features. So, but it is important we begin to learn knowledge. Learn things that are actually equipping us to make the world a better place. I am belonging to the body of knowledge or school of thought that want to focus attention on learning things that is benefiting the universe. Anything that is not benefiting the universe, anything that is crippling the universe and changing it from what God intended it to be, I don't believe we should have our attention or we should invest our time there, except we are investing time to see how we can take it out of the world system. Knowledge economy. The reason why it is very pertinent that we discuss the knowledge economy is that if we just go and begin to reel the flashy content of knowledge management without understanding our own economy and what the economy is supposed to be or ought to be, there is every possibility that we may learn and then still go back to our organization and find it difficult to begin to apply the knowledge that we have garnered. But if we understand what the economy is about, we'll be able to understand the pedigree of the robustness of our own knowledge economy. If it is robust, we will know. If it is not robust, we will know from these slides now. If it is very, very robust, we will know. But it is very, very important for me to state that irrespective of the kind of a knowledge economy that you have in your country, it is not a disaster, and it is not something that should be a major source of concern, because those countries and those economies that are overtly and that are highly developed have been able to churn out information and knowledge so much so that for those of us that are coming from a growing economy will be able to even access those information. We will be able to access this knowledge if we understand exactly the type of knowledge that we should be accessing and then or creating or sharing. So they have been able to do a lot in their own area, and it is trickling down to some of us that are still in developing economies, and it is helping us a lot in our knowledge management, implementations. So it is not a worry, but it is still important we understand the economy of knowledge as we are advancing in this discussion. So what is a knowledge economy? A knowledge economy is a system of consumption and production that is based on intellectual capital. It is a system of consumption and production that is based on intellectual capital. So the question is, in the economy that you are operating, or in the economy that your organization is operating, what is the intellectual capital like? What is the quantum of intellectual capital in existence in the economy that your organization is operating in? Well, for me, I know the one I have in Nigeria. As my organization is operating in Nigeria, I know the intellectual capital that Nigeria has at the moment. And I can say that it is not so robust. That if the knowledge that is being created, generated, and brought to the marketplace from the developed nations were not there, if it is withdrawn, I want to believe that all of us will be struggling today on how to, run our businesses day to day. So I have that understanding that in Nigeria, we do not have, it is there, the intellectual capital is there, it has a base and it is growing, but I can tell us that it has not reached an optimum or an optimal level. It has not gotten to a point where I will say whatever thing that I need, I can do. Because as I'm speaking this morning, I don't know what exactly it is. As I speak this morning, if anybody wants to conduct research, for instance, if an organization wants to conduct research today, I do not know if there is any grant anywhere. When I checked the last time, it is not always there. That I can, apply to, that is waiting on me to say, oh, I'm a growing indigenous organization in this country. I want to carry out this research to be able to help people in my industry. I don't know if there's any funding somewhere that is waiting for me to say, oh, this is what I want to do. Okay, apply and I will hand it down. So if I want to, for instance, grow my organization or my industry's intellectual capital, I am going to be funding it myself. I will fund it myself. And all of us know what that means. So the intellectual capital is suffering a lot of constraints in this country. And I know that in some other developing countries, the situation is also similar. So the number 2 is knowledge economy refers to the ability to capitalize on scientific discoveries and applied research. What has been the ability of my country, for instance, to capitalize on scientific discoveries and applied research? In Nigeria, I know that the ability is not that strong. It is a growing ability. It is not there. It is not very strong that organizations can climb on its back. So that is, but in some other economies, you may find out that the moment a scientific discovery was achieved and it is delivered to the marketplace, before you know it, almost every organization, even governments, institutions, before you know it, all of them had been able to access it. They have been able to buy into it, and they are already applying it in their operations, and they are already turning out, innovations, turning out new products and services, utilizing that new discoveries. Then, the knowledge economy also represents a large share of the activity in most highly developed economies. That's what I was talking about previously. In the knowledge economy, a significant component of value may consist of intangible assets, such as the value of its workers' knowledge, experience, and intellectual property. This is very common. We all know this. Because when we are talking about, an economy, we are not just saying it is strictly those, knowledge that is created in scientific labs. No, it is not those knowledge alone. The human capital, there is the knowledge attached to human capital as they engage in their various organizations. So those are also components. They are part and parcel of the knowledge we are referring to. And of course, we know that as quickly as workers are able to adapt to new discoveries and new ways of doing things and be able to use new tools, new techniques of working, that is also how their knowledge base is expanding and moving in dynamism. But those of us coming from economies where these things are slow, for instance, in 2019, my visit to a 2- and 3-wheelers manufacturing company in Canada had already revealed to me in 2019, that is 5 years ago, that they had started at that time to be using robots in the assembly lines. This is 2019. They are using robots in the assembly lines already. And I can watch and see how about 100 units of these products are being churned out from their factory almost at the same time. Then when I came back to my own factory, my assembly plant here in Nigeria, I was just sitting down and watching like 13 units of this product, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 13. The gap was massive, being churned out at once. So look at the gap. This is 5 years ago. I believe that if I return to that factory this year, what I'm going to see is going to be something more magnificent, newer than what I saw in 2019. And I know that even in Nigeria up till now, I do not think we still have an assembly plant that had begun to use robotics in the assembly lines. We are still using our assembly line, all full equipment that are being operated. So we have not, started using people who will just people in form of machine who will be doing the work. We are not there. They are doing it and running quite a number of errands in that factory floor. So this is what we are talking about here. So we have to understand our own economy to be able to know how to play around. For instance, now I do not have a robotics working in my assembly plant. Will I now go and invest money studying about how robotics could be made to be improved to work in assembly line when I have not bought that technology? So we move ahead. The knowledge economy describes the contemporary commercialization of science and academic scholarship, where the focus is on shipping knowledge. We are going to go back. We can go back because we have moved again. Good. Go back again, please. Go back again, please. Good. Thank you. So the knowledge economy describes the contemporary commercialization of science and academic scholarship, where the focus, I want us to look at this thing, where the focus is on shipping knowledge to the marketplace, where they can be accessed. Of course, we know that even in various economies, some people may have this knowledge, but where do they ship this knowledge to? For people that actually need this knowledge to be able to have access to this knowledge. Some of us coming from this economy, we do not have such. We still have to rely on so many of these more developed countries to be able to access this, knowledge that is in the marketplace. We do not have a very seamless, it is actually growing very fast. Talking about this one, even in Nigeria and some other developing countries, is growing fast. That is shipment of knowledge to the marketplace is becoming, it is fast, in fact, it's moving faster than every other area of the economy, of the knowledge economy in Nigeria. People are able to meet, the people in demand of knowledge is able to access it from the suppliers. Then in knowledge economy, innovation based on research is commodified via patents and other forms of intellectual property protections. This is very solid. This is very standardized in people that have a very robust knowledge economy. It's very standardized. And I'll cite an example. Here, commodifying innovation based, knowledge economy innovation based on research, commodifying it is easy. But preservation and protection of such is always very difficult in this environment. And we all know it's very difficult to protect, these commodities. But over there, commodifying it is already established, is standardized. Even the common man on the street knows what will happen if he's involved in violation of patents or property, or intellectual property rights. But I can say that the same is not, to be said about here. We are also growing in that aspect, but we are not there yet. So this is the features of our own knowledge economy, which is very, very important that leaders of organizations, managers in organizations, supervisors in organizations, every active member of an organization is supposed to be aware of. So please, let us move ahead.
Move next slide.
Yes, please. Okay. This is just a brief information while we continue. Our members will receive free the slides and recorded video, while others will receive free the training video. So we are requesting everyone to send a chat requesting for these free materials. What we need is your full names, your email, phone number. Then we have an e-certificate. The e-certificate is just We just need you to pay talking of 5,000 naira. It is not, I will say this. I will say this. I have also participated in CeProd lecture series. What you will get from this lecture series is far and above the value of this 5,000 you're paying. And why I say this is, you can attend this program, but if you have something that is like a seal that is showing tomorrow, next month, years to come that you participated in this, it is to your own advantage. So I will not attend this kind of training that is free and I will not get an e-certificate. So just throw in your 5,000 and do indicate. It is optional, please. You can see it is an optional thing, but I just need to explain to us. So please, let us send in these details, our full names, our email, our phone numbers. And I reiterate, you will receive the free slides. If you are a member of CeProd, you will receive the free slides. You will receive the free slides and recorded video. But if you are not a member, you will receive free the training video. But a member or a non-member, just send a chat requesting for your free materials. That detail is needed for CeProd to be able to respond to you. So please, let's move ahead. Now, in the context of organization, we have looked at those economies at large. But in the context of organization, the knowledge economy, it lies at the intersection of private entrepreneurship, academia, and government-sponsored research. So we can understand the reason why we are still having it not so fast across developing economies, including Nigeria. The knowledge economy in the context of organization, it is at the intersection of private entrepreneurship, academia, and then government-sponsored research. Let us look at the quality of interaction or the quality of relationship that these three institutions or three arms are having in Nigeria today or in other parts of Africa. What is the kind of collaboration that is existential across these three areas? Those in the private sector, in private entrepreneurship, those in academia, and then those in government-sponsored research. When I look at this, I can just authoritatively say, and I'm saying this with full responsibility, until after COVID-19, that is beginning from 2020, the relationship existing between entrepreneurs and academic institutions and government-sponsored research, it is very, very minimal and shallow. There has not been an established, progressive, concretized relationship existing among these three that has enabled our knowledge economy to grow at the pace that is supposed to have been growing. And of course, at the pace that it ought to be growing. But when we were met with the pandemic, that a lot of things now began to, we all began to see how vulnerable we are standing on our own. We all began to, those of us in private entrepreneurship, began to see that we can't survive continuing to run the way we used to run. Those in the academia also began to see that whatever thing that they are turning out there, until people are able to take it in, apply it, and then be able to create value and begin to, bring in transformation to organizations, that there is just a waste. And the government also began to say that they need to have interest in sponsoring research that is outside the four walls of government institutions, especially. So I am happy to say also that after COVID-19, from 2020, there has been improvement. There has been improvement because, of course, we now saw that the way that we have been operating as a country, that it has been impacting negatively on our knowledge economy and knowledge capital. And no economy will grow in having that kind of massive dichotomy between private entrepreneurship, academia, and government, sponsored research. Because if we go, for instance, if we take a chance, for instance, as an example, their government is investing huge sums of resources in sponsoring research, looking for how to develop entrepreneurship, for how to support entrepreneurs so that they can grow, catalyze the economic growth and development in their countries. So now we move ahead. Knowledge-related industry represent large chunk of enterprise activities in highly developed countries. Yes, it is also becoming the reality even in less developed countries, developing economies like ours. Knowledge-related industry represent a large chunk of enterprise activities in highly developed countries. We cannot even be confused over this. We cannot question this, and we cannot say we don't understand that this is the reality. Okay, look, for instance, the catalyzation of social networks by the Americans, by the Singaporeans. If you take America, for instance, it's just the short time that we have. Otherwise, we would have put up a whole lot of statistics and research deliveries that would open these things up for us very glaringly. Look at Meta, for instance. We know how many things that Meta has been able to bring to bear in the social media industry. And then take a look at how that innovation captured the entire world. Are we aware that that enterprise, that corporation is just rolling on the back of knowledge? It's just rolling on the back of knowledge, and the Can you hear me?
Yes, you moved yourself before, sorry.
Yeah, we could.
Okay.
We can hear you, but it was muted lately.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm just gonna move ahead. So I've already talked about knowledge-related industry representing a large chunk of enterprise activities in highly developed countries. And I know we all agree with this. A knowledge economy depends on skilled labor and education, strong communications network, and institutional structures that incentivize innovation. These things, we have to take it home as organization leaders. A knowledge economy depends on skilled labor, education, strong communications network, and institutional structures that incentivize innovation. What this is trying to tell us is that, do you want your knowledge economy to be boosted? Do you want an improved knowledge economy? Then you have to be looking for skilled labor. It did not ask you to look for cheap labor. It says skilled labor. Then you have to be investing in education. Education of who? Education of the members of your organization. And when we are talking about the education of the members of your organization, we are talking about education of everybody, not the heads of departments. Everybody that set foot in that organization as a member of that organization, we have to be looking at how to educate them. There are certain educational materials or educational, programs that we don't have to spend fortunes. But the important thing is that we must invest. We must have interest and begin to deliberately invest. We are not going to wait for the entire Nigeria, for instance, if you are running an organization in Nigeria. Because that is why I had to separate, as it concerns organization, I had to separate it from the entire, knowledge economy. Because you cannot say, oh, Nigeria's knowledge economy is not robust, so what can I do? Of course, as a leader, you have to know what to do. So a knowledge economy depends on skilled labor. So leaders of organizations need to understand this. You are not going to wait for your government, for instance, to be able to get skilled labor. If you have people that you've already employed, they are not getting the job well done, it is either you employ those that are better than them, more competent, or you begin to train them according to your capacity. If you do not have capacity, you form collaborative, alliances that can enable you. But you can't sit like that. You can't just sit. And of course, strong communications network. This is very, very pivotal. In fact, this is very integral when we are talking about growing your knowledge economy within your organization, within the four walls of your organization. What kind of communications network do you have? And when we are talking about strong communication network, please do not think about just the digital communications network. That's not what we are talking about here. We are talking about the policies, operational policies. We are talking about what you have been able to establish within your organization to improve how people talk to one another, to improve how people share information, to improve how people access information, to improve how people understand information, how people treat information, and how people, when I'm talking about information, I'm actually talking about relevant information, compatible information, information on demand. And then institutional structures and that incentivize innovation. Of course, we know what incentivization of innovation is. That is, what are you doing to attract people to innovation? What are you doing to attract innovation? What are you doing to agitate mind towards innovation in your organization? So in the context of organization, you see, I am no longer speaking as I spoke when I'm talking about knowledge economy out there. When it is organization, I'm now addressing it even to myself. Because if we don't stand up and we are operating from an economy that is not fully robust, then we will always continue to lag behind. The things that the developed country has been able to do, then in 10 years to come, we are beginning to do them. That's not what's expected of us. Because as the world is moving, organizations are supposed to move along with the world. When we are talking about knowledge economy, we're actually talking about how to shape the future work and the future workers. It starts now as we are speaking. So please, let's move to the next slides. So now, this is also very, very important. Pillars of knowledge economies. If we did not remember anything that we talked about knowledge economy today, please, I would like us not to forget this one. Pillars of knowledge economies. If you remember these pillars, you will always know what to do. As a member of the organization, or as a leader in organization. Understanding these pillars, according to the World Bank, will enable you to take action, cogent action. It will enable you to be deliberate to grow your knowledge economy. Because when you grow your internal knowledge economy in your organization, nobody will tell you that you move faster than your peers, irrespective of the industry that you are in. Because those who grab new knowledge faster and run with it, they're always ahead of other ones that are slower. So according to World Bank, they define knowledge economies in these four pillars, in these four categorizations. Number one, they say that institutional structures that provide incentive for entrepreneurship and the use of knowledge. That is one pillar. And I will say it, and then I will be asking, what are the institutional structures in Nigeria that provide incentives for entrepreneurship and the use of knowledge? I know very few, but if I may also add, they are not very much flourishing. They are not very much flourishing because their functionalities are still very limited. They are still sitting down and waiting for somebody to do all the legworks and be able to come to them. And of course, when you eventually get to them, there's a whole lot of hurdles to cross before you are able to get whatever support that their structure that was put in place to assist you can actually assist you in the true sense of it. Then number two, availability of skilled labor and a good education system. Availability of skilled labor and good education system. Well, we don't need to stretch so much on this. We do not need to sweat this. We know what good education system means. Previously, I had mentioned that for you to be able to grow your knowledge economy as an organization, you must pay attention in education. And when we are talking about education, please, we have conventional and unconventional. So the ones you can engage in, start. Because the thing is that for us to be able to birth and sustain transformation, that continuous improvement should be a lifestyle for us in organizations, in our organization. Continuous improvement, and do not wait until you have everything. Start from where you are. Start with the resources that you have. And like I said, it is very easy to collaborate now. If you do not have the capacity, if you do not have the power that will enable you implement certain strategies, collaborate with other organizations, collaborate with other institutions, collaborate with other professionals. But the important thing is that you keep going. So availability of skilled labor, good education system. That's another pillar. The third pillar is access to information and communication technology. The fourth pillar is a vibrant innovation landscape that includes academic, the private sector, and the civil society. I would like to say a bit about something on this number 4 pillar. When they are talking about innovation landscape, they are talking about something that is foundational and formational, that has already been provided by the government and that is already running. That people that have interest in generating knowledge and pushing it to the marketplace can rely on to continue to work and flourish. So the innovation landscape is not something that it is organizations that we create it. No. It has to be something that is already in the environment. That organizations, individuals, smaller, companies, irrespective of where your industry, can say, oh, I have this, and I can now rely on this. And I will give an example of what this thing what is it like. And I will use my own industry, automotive and automobile industry, as an example. Being in the executive seat, being a board member of a motor vehicles and Motors Assembly Nigeria, one of the roles that I play is that I go for stakeholder meetings where we debate and ideate and negotiate and discuss with government and his agencies on what to create, the kind of enablers that they will be able to create in specific industries, and for my own now, automobile and automotive, that can enable operators, investors, entrepreneurs to have hope that when they start today, they are not shutting down tomorrow. And in one of those meetings, we did a proposal which we submitted to the Ministry of Trade and Industry. One of those proposals was highlighting on the need for there to be what is called industrial, automobile, and automotive industrial park in Nigeria. We have it to locate it in 3 major geographical locations in the country. What does this industrial park do? What that park will be able to provide is that we will research to know the kind of components, automobile and automotive components, that could be manufactured in Nigeria which all the automobile and automotive assemblers or manufacturers will be able to be buying and assembling their products. Instead of importing all their components almost 100% from Korea, India, China, and anywhere, Europe. So that industrial park will be able to determine the commonest components that will be manufactured here. And then, for instance, in my own industry, I can use maybe a tire as an example. That instead of me to go to China or to go to Korea or to Germany to import tire, I can actually buy the tire. All the tires that I will use to assemble Degab motorcycles, tricycle, I can actually buy it here in Nigeria. I will just go and bring in other components. But rubber, I can buy in Nigeria because the government can establish that park and then invest money in rubber plantation. That way, there will be a buffer for those in the agricultural sector in growing rubber. Also, those that will be manufacturing that rubber, they are already there. Because we have people that have capacity to manufacture these components. Then those of us that are running assembly plants, they will be buying from them to be assembling. That is how to start a very, very flourishing automobile and automotive industry. But without such an industrial park, if everybody is just running overseas to go and import, take for instance, what is going on today in the exchange market, the forest market. Can we sustain ourselves? Is it sustainable now that you are now going to 100% of the component that you will require to assemble the item, you will import it? How can such be sustained in a growing economy where people are not wealthy, are not carrying chunks of cash? They are not highly liquid individuals and citizens that can buy whatever they want to buy. So, innovation landscape is government investing in something that can enable other people to come in and begin to do things. In developed countries, and I will always mention China, because this economy, I understand it a little bit. And I've been there, we interact with them, and I know what they are doing that is making them to take over the world economically. Government is playing a vibrant role, establishing innovation landscape, innovation environment, innovation foundation landscape. That is a foundation that can enable other people that want to play big. So please, let us move ahead. So we have to now understand what the pillars of our knowledge economy is. Because when these things we are talking about begin to happen, we can't even, the kind of knowledge that will be coming out, we are also going to be we'll now become the exporters of knowledge in these areas, in these industries, in these sectors. We'll become people that are also selling information to the world, not just us buying from the rest of the world. So please, let us move ahead. So we are now on organization knowledge. And for the purpose of time, please, I am just going to rally round. I'm going to race through these types of knowledge. I would have enjoyed explaining this knowledge one by one. I love explaining them a lot because it will help us to actually even know what we are talking about. I would have even loved to be able to talk to us about the difference between information, data, and then knowledge, but we don't have such time. And these things are things that we can easily get to read by ourselves. So please, allow me to just race through this particular one. What is organization knowledge? It is a collection of knowledge resources that are shared. Remember, we cannot talk about organizational knowledge without taking into consideration that it should be a knowledge that is shareable. A knowledge that is not shareable, please, it is not worth it. I wouldn't even call that a knowledge. I know that we will have knowledge that we'll call private in our organization, but the fact still remains that there are still people in the organization that will have that will be privy to such knowledge, without which the knowledge will just be a waste, or it will not be called a knowledge. If we remove value from information, if we remove applicability and power from an information, it is no longer, it can't be knowledge. So it is a collection of knowledge resources that are shared. It is shared, it is consumed. It's not just shared. Is it consumed? What you are calling knowledge in your organization, is it consumable? And when it is consumed, is it flourishing? Is it nourishing to the organization and the members of your organization? Please, if you share anything that is not flourishing, just like when we are consuming food or meals, if it is not nourishing, it is not flourishing in your organization and the members of your organization, please take it out. It's not knowledge. So knowledge is a collection of resources that are shared, consumed, and applied to support the functioning of the organization. And I would like to say this, it does not just support the functioning of the organization. I think it leads the functioning of the organization. Because if we remove knowledge from the functionalities of organization will crumble in few days. There will be so much chaos, there will be so much confusion, there will be so much uncertainty that it will not be able to operate. It is still based on knowledge that organization can stand firm and be able to sustain its structures. So please, we go to types of knowledge. We have explicit knowledge, we have implicit knowledge, we have tacit knowledge, we have declarative knowledge, we have procedural knowledge, a posterior knowledge, and of course a prior knowledge. Please, let us not dabble into this because they are massive, but they are also simple to understand. Please, I implore us to read these types of knowledge after this class. Because what we are discussing today is enabling us to see how knowledge management can boost productivity, can improve productivity in our individual life, family life, career life, or even an organizational life. So the reason why I believe us not going into detail to discuss this will not hurt us is because I know, for instance, that after this class, some people will be looking at knowledge that will be helping them personally in their personal career. Others may be looking for knowledge that will be helping them in their organization. Others may be looking for knowledge that will be helping them in their families. So by the time you go to read these types of knowledge, you will know the type that you need. But please, let's move ahead, to discuss other matters because we have very limited time left. And I would like to be reminded what I have left so that I know how to raise.
Maybe DG will say that one. As for me, I'm enjoying the lecture. Maybe the DG can say how many minutes you have left.
Okay, please, my DG, how many minutes do I have?
Whether we can give you 15 minutes more.
Okay, thank you very much. I will race through this now. I will race as fast as I can. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So organizational knowledge management, we are also going to raise this because there is quite a number of definitions. And if I had time, there is a lot of graphics that I would have loved to bring. Graphics that when you just have a look at it, it will tell you precisely, very clean, what we are talking about when we are discussing organizational knowledge management. But let's race through this text. I will look at just two definitions. There are too many definitions, but we are looking at two here. Organizational knowledge management is any process or practice of creating, acquiring, capturing, sharing, and using knowledge wherever it resides. I love this statement, wherever it resides. That is why I will not listen to any organization leader that will tell me, I don't have this, so what am I going to do? I don't have this information. Because the management is putting it on your shoulder as a weight that you have to find the information wherever it resides. If the information resides in Singapore and your organization needs it, go there and fish it out. Thank God we have technology enablement. So it is not that you are running an organization, for instance, in Enugu, and then you need an information that you know that, okay, it's in Singapore, I will get this information. You now say, oh, I'm in Enugu, and because of that, the organization will be suffering. No. or your family will be suffering, or your career will be suffering. No, you have to search for it. Go and begin to search. And thank God we have a lot of platforms now. We have a lot of engines now that enables us to search information from any country around the world. So, but you have to know that if you are going to be engaging or involved in knowledge management, effective knowledge management, it doesn't matter where the knowledge resides, you must fish it out. Some of them you have to pay tokens to be able to access them. If you need those information, if they are very, very important, you need to invest. Invest in it, pay, and get it out. So, and it is to enhance learning and performance in organizations. I love this too. That's why I picked this one definition, even though it's an old definition. It's 1996, over 2 decades. Naturally, when I'm having a training, I do not go back to pick from what the scholars of the old were saying. But of course, we need to note that the scholars of the old, some of them are still in operation up till now. They are still practicing up till now. But this definition of 1996, I find it very important because it talked about something. It talked about enhancement of learning. People do not know that knowledge management, that learning is a very, very strong part of knowledge management. They will just think that it's just going to somewhere, pulling out knowledge, storing it in your archives or in your databases, and then bringing it out when you need them. No. Learning is a very strong part of knowledge management. You that is managing knowledge must learn how to learn. And it is continuous, irrespective of who you are. For some of us that are freaks of learning, some of us are learning enthusiasts, we can never stop learning. We have come to realize that there is no stopping. It does not matter where your cadre is in management or in leadership or in your organization. It doesn't even matter how many number of years that you have been there. Just know that a very strong part of knowledge management is learning and, of course, performance in organizations. Please, let us remember this whenever we are talking about organization knowledge management. Then the second one says that knowledge management is the managing of the corporation's knowledge. I brought this word corporation here. Though I know that when we are talking about organization, we are talking about something bigger than corporation. Because corporations, of course, I know they are just the big business entities or big institutions that are churning out services and products. But I want us to know that organization is much more than that. Organization is bigger. It is the bigger picture. So, but let me bring this for the purpose of the fact that we are also speaking to people that are running organizations here or that are board members of organizations, of corporations, that is business entities. So is managing corporations knowledge through a systematically and organizationally specified process for acquiring, organizing, sustaining, applying, sharing, and renewing both the tacit and explicit knowledge of employees to enhance organizational performance and create value. I love this one also because it's not just talking about organizational performance, it's talking about creation of value. And when we are talking about creation of value, we are talking about creating something that is beyond the organization, creating something that the society is very much benefiting from. And this definition is according to Devon, Port and Prusak, and it's 2000. So please let us move ahead. I have 15 minutes, I was told. Ways that we can implement knowledge management. This, like I mentioned before, if we had a better time, we'll now talk about knowledge management systems. That is, system that you establish for effective knowledge management. But there is no time, please. Let us just take this one home. These are the simplest ways of implementing knowledge management in such a way that it can boost productivity. When we are talking about productivity, please do understand that we have personal productivity. In the center here, we are talking about anything that is improving anybody, improving any organization. improving any government, improving any non-profit, anything at all that is supporting, that is adding value, that is growing mankind. We want to believe that improving the productivity of that entity is positive. That's what we strongly believe in the center. And that's what part of what we are trying to bring forth in this presentation. People directory or expertise locator. If we look at it critically, if you keep people directory as owners of organization or members of organization or heads of department of organization, it will not hurt you in any way. Or if you create an expertise locator, it is used to identify and locate the people within your organization who have expertise in a particular area. The quicker you locate someone to answer your question, the quicker you can get on with your task or answer a client. Is that not correct? If we implement this over time, what are we going to be seeing happening? We'll be improving and boosting our productivity, either personal productivity or organizational productivity. Either way, all of them are important in the center. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes.
It will reduce downtime. It will reduce downtime. Switch will reduce the downtime.
Okay, yes. So the next one is the cross-training programs. Mentoring, shadowing, and other training programs where people watch others work. It allows employees to gain business knowledge faster. Well, I never knew that this thing was existing until 2015, this cross-training program. I happened to had an opportunity of traveling for a conference to the US in 2015. And then I just, as a matter of curiosity, I said, okay, I needed to see, needed to look for any automotive company around where I had traveled to, the state that I have traveled to see what they are doing. And when I got there, I was privileged, and I would say I was lucky that I went into that company, into that organization when they were doing these cross-training programs. And immediately I was taken to the executive director of the company, and I explained my mission, that I just want to come and see what they are doing. Actually, they are motorcycle, bicycle assembly company. Because that was what was close by where I went to. And I know they are doing something similar, though it is not, we are not into, my company was not into bicycles. I know that they do assembly. I just wanted to see what they were doing. And when I got there, they said, okay, that they have this program, I should join. And what they were doing is just, we'll sit down and just be looking at people doing their work. I said, what is going on here? Is that just what I'm going to be doing? I told the executive director that actually, you are the one that I came to watch. He said, no, madam, you are going to watch these people. So, and I was just watching how they were reading out the items, moving it to storage, the kind of interactions they were having, the ways that they take their orders, the ways that they process their orders. I was just watching all the staffs. We'll watch a particular department for today. Tomorrow they take us to another department to watch. I never understood that this is a very, very important part of expanding knowledge in organizations. Because to be honest, in my organization, we never practiced that. We have never brought, we always think it is a time wasting mechanism. How can you just organize instead of the staff to be engaging and working in their specific areas? We are not bringing them to just be sitting down and be watching people. What would they, for the whole day, they will be sitting down. Down here, we were thinking that it's a waste of time. But after I made that trip to that company, it changed the way I was looking at cross-training programs. It makes a lot of sense to me. And whatever thing that I watched that day, I implemented one or two of those things in my own factory when I returned. So this is a very, very important way of managing knowledge or implementing knowledge management that will eventually boost your productivity. The thing is that when people watch physical things, especially where it's manufacturing is involved, or especially where physical activities is involved, products manufacturing is involved, it enables them. It's in a very quicker form. They get to learn those particular tasks. And next time when you are putting them there, it is very, very fast for them to learn. Instead of taking them to the study room or to the training room to begin to write on the board and begin to draw and tell them this is what you are going to do when you get to this place, or this is not what you are going to do. So please let us go to another slide. The next one, please. Thank you very much. So lessons learned, often not explicitly captured. Lessons learned sessions are an important way. How many of us, for instance, after a conference or after a retreat or after a training session, that is a training a program, comes back to our company and begin to individually, casually and informally begin to ask people about the lessons that they learned and ask them to put it into documents, to document it? How do we, have we been putting value on the learning experience of our workforce? It is very, very important. When we go for retreats, we need to find out who actually learned what and how they learned it. We need to actually find out even how they learned those things and how they want to learn it in the next gathering. Because in the process of having this, to and fro, questions and answers, how we call it demand and feedback, we will be able to know what we may not know, either as a superior or as a subordinate. Sometimes, like he stated here, it is not explicitly captured, but lessons learned is an important way of not repeating mistakes and shortening up how to do its knowledge. The thing is this: somebody may have gone for instance, an onboarding class. He has learned everything there, but is not understanding, because when we are talking about knowledge transfer, it is not about how people are behaving during the knowledge transfer exercise. It is about how they behave at the end of the knowledge transfer exercise and subsequently. Somebody may have learned something, but the person did not conceptualize that learning. He did not concretize it. He didn't put it in a form that it will sit in his or her spirit. And that's very, very important. But by the time we ask these questions, there is every tendency that is the time now that our workforce members of our workforce will now go and begin to articulate what they have learned and even what they didn't truly learn. So if we use this mechanism, it will also help us a lot. So the next one, communities of practice. What is this? Communities of practice are groups of individuals with shared interests that share and discuss problems and opportunities, best practices and lessons learned. This is very clear. In organizations, even in families, we have these things. We have communities of practice. We may pretend we don't know, but we know. Because we'll always find group of people always gathering, isolating and gathering somewhere and talking about things more often than the other, groups. So we always see people, even in our home. We have children. You will just see two children discussing, for instance, more about football. Other group of your children discussing maybe more of movies. Others discussing maybe more of technology, tech. So we see people like that. So these things are very important tools that we can utilize to be able to manage our knowledge very well and also implement strategies that will boost productivity. The next one is collaboration tools. Well, we know what this one means. We have collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams. It allows teams to communicate and collaborate in shared space. I know all of us have used Microsoft Teams. We have used, what we are using now is also another collaborative tools. So it is easy to ask people, for instance, oh, I did not understand this. Please, can we share? 2 or 3 persons can gather quickly, create this platform. No, there are some companies that when they see that their employees or their workforce are sharing ideas, they will, I mean, the way they will react, it will baffle me. And so especially leaders, they will, if you go, one of their policies will be like, nobody will meet over Zoom without the approval of the management. And I said, like what? And we are going to be leading transformation in our organizations. We are going to be boosting productivity. We want to be highly productive company, and we put all these bottlenecks in form of policies. If you don't allow people to quickly meet to address their issues, what are you trying to block them from doing? You are trying to block it. Did that mean that until they come to their desks one-on-one, they will not be able to interact and discuss, clear out, or access whatever information they needed to access at that point in time to enable them to, have speed in whatever tasks that they are performing. So please, let's go to the next slide. My minutes will be remaining like 5, I am sure. Please, can we jump this, please? Let's jump this, please, to the next one, please, so I can manage my time very well. Okay, this information, we have shared it before. Please, we are giving it again as a reminder. Our members will receive free the slides and recorded video, while others will receive free the training video. But please, irrespective of the category that you belong to, send your full names, your email, your phone number. It's very, very important. We need it. And please, do not leave this training meeting room without paying your 5,000 to get your e-certificate. Get your e-certificate, get the materials. It is better. You will be good to go, because what I am also imploring us to do is that we do not just come to our center to learn. We come to our center to learn, to go out there and lead and impact other people with the information that we have gotten, with the learning that we have gained access to. We are going to go out there to impact other people. You get your materials, get your e-certificate, and let the people that you are going to train or people that you are going to, transfer this knowledge to know that you actually participated in this training, and we are not just sitting, you didn't sit down somewhere and read it up and then you are coming to share with them. Please, it is very, very important that after attending this meeting, you get your e-certificate. It is a seal. I call it a seal. Your seal of learning in today's in a knowledge transfer exercise is very, very important. Please. So please, let us move to the next slide. There is a particular one I want to address. Catalyzing, yes, that is it. This is the main thing why we are gathered here this afternoon to have this, this morning to have this conversation. We are trying to see, okay, in the midst of all these things that we have discussed, how do we translate the activities, the confluence of activities, actions, investments, the interrelatedness of all the things that we have discussed here? How can we take it to the table where our productivity will be impacted as individuals, as organizations, and the government agencies, political, private sector, and the public sector leaders? How do we bring all these things together so that we will improve productivity wherever we are? We are talking about wherever we are. Please, if you are productive in the organization and you're not productive at home, something is wrong with you, because authenticity demands that whoever we are, what we are able to dish out, what we are able to create, the kind of energy we are able to birth and discharge in environment A should be the same with what we are discharging in environment B. We have to be authentic individuals who are the same wherever we are. The influence we bring to our home should be the same influence we bring to our organization, to our churches, to the non-charities that we are running, to the government. Wherever you are, what you carry should be able to manifest wherever we are. That's what we are talking about this morning. Please, this is what we are arriving at. Knowledge management reduces the disruptions in the flow of work. This is a statement of fact. If you do not have an effective knowledge management system, in your organization, even in your families, there is every chance, there is a high degree that there will be disruption. And this disruption will not only cause loss of time, loss of tasks, and of course, loss of dream and aspirations. It will actually cripple you. You will become a nobody or a non-entity at the end of the day. So we need to take the issue of knowledge management serious in our individual life and organizational life and career life. It is not about actually what you know. It is about how you are able to align what you know to what you are doing in your life in such a way that it will produce. It will yield reasonable fruits for you and those that you are, influencing. So let us interact with knowledge management in such a way that it begins to reduce disruptions. For instance, for me to be able to discharge this duty this morning, I refuse to go to a particular office that I'm supposed to work today. Because if I had gone there today, as I'm sitting down here, I would have stood up for like 3 times. But I have been able to study the dynamism of my daily activities there and realize that I cannot be there and deliver this. So I have to go to another office that my head will be cooler, that I will not have interruptions. Nobody will knock on my door. If I give instruction, this is how it's going to be, it will always be like that, and there will be no noise. So on average, it takes knowledge workers 25 minutes to get back to tasks after interruption. This is the result of a research. I didn't present it here. I wouldn't have the time. Whenever there is disruption at work, it takes 25 minutes to get back to that task. It is not, we are not doing permutation here. Because when you are something disrupted you, right? You are going to be able to realize that it's a disruption for you to be able to disconnect from it and then begin to go back. And by the time you go back to your task, there is every tendency you will even forget where you ended before, where you stopped. So you're going to now begin to start, oh, where did I stop? All these things will have taken your 20 and 25 minutes. So just have this at the back of your mind, that poor knowledge management will expose you to disruptions. And remember that disruption will cost you loss of 25 minutes. This is a recent research. Second one, when employees can find the information they need through a quick search, they experience fewer disruptions and get more done. That is true. If you are occupying a building that have maybe 17 stories or 20 stories, and the employee need a particular information to be able to deliver on certain responsibilities. And then he goes to the information archive. He goes to the knowledge database of the company. He types the information he needs and it's not there. And the only place he will get it is maybe in the CEO or in the executive director's office. Is in the 3rd floor. And your own office is on the 17th floor. And this employee now wants to stand up from her seat or his seat to come to your office to be able to seek, or to maybe he placed a phone call, you are not able to respond. He wants to use the escalator. The escalator is not working. It's now beginning to work. And of course, this is common in Nigeria. You now begin to work the staircases. Assuming that is not up to 17, that is even 5. He will take this individual, this employee, about 10, 15 minutes to get to the office where you want to seek for that information. It will take her again another 10 minutes to get back to her office and begin to settle to continue the work she's doing. Is that what we want to be seeing in today's organization? So, if we have effective knowledge management mechanisms, we don't know the degree to which we are boosting productivity in the organization. And of course, we know the bottom line that optimized productivity will yield in our organization. We know that when we are not wasting time, when we are efficiently and effectively utilizing the resources to create our goods and services that customers will be buying off our hands, we know that where that is leading us is just profit. For those that are running business organizations like me, it's profit. But even for those organizations that are not for profit, you know what that help? What we'll do You are delivering value at record time to the people that you are serving. So we just need to find a way of doing all, placing information, placing knowledge, placing, our knowledge in places where in a twinkle of an eye, our workforce, not just our workforce, even our clients and customers that we serve, there has to be a way that they can connect to the vital information that they need about our organization, about our company, about our company operations and businesses. Something that can make it, and of course, it is not just something that will serve the internal need of your organization, even the external needs. Nobody wants to do business these days with anybody that will want you to kill. I can say that a lot of these new generation banks, the ones that just started after COVID-19, the way they are amassing customers, we will be dazed. Because of what some of them said, you know what? Mostly financial payment institutions, payment platforms. They will just say, you know what, just sit in your office. I will open an account for you. You can do whatever you want to do. Don't come to my bank. Don't come and queue. You need money, you transfer. Your transfer will go very fast. Because of them, the conventional commercial banks in Nigeria, I have noticed that personally. Nobody told me this. They are now racing to improve their payment platforms because a lot of people were going for all these newer ones. Because you don't need to go and queue anywhere. You need any information, pom, at your fingertips, you're already having them. Those are people that have been able to optimize the management, the knowledge management of their organization. And they may even be small. It does not matter. Because what we are discussing here this morning is not just about the big conglomerates. It's something that we can begin to practice at in our bedrooms. So please move ahead. Now, knowledge management minimizes repetitive requests to subject matter experts. This one is very, very clear. It's very green and clear. SMEs, for instance, and I like this example. I had to use it because that's where I'm coming from. SMEs, for instance, often field the same questions from different employees. That is correct. Knowledge management will allow you to do what we call appropriate segmentation of knowledge. You will not be repeating requests to subject matter experts. No. You will segment knowledge and you will put knowledge in their proper perspectives. It will give, there is alignment. There is intensive alignment that you are doing when you have effective knowledge management mechanisms in your organization. So the last one, enabling people do self-serve or find the answers they need themselves, dramatically reduces interruptions and process flows. This is crystal clear. We don't need to ask how here. What do they mean? What do I mean? Or what do we mean when we say self-serve? Self-service, for instance, I will cite an example. If I want to understand, like I said, I am a learning enthusiast. I love learning. I'm a learning leader. If I want to know the learning methodologies that is an academic institution is offering, I just need to go online and key in my details. For instance, if they needed to know more about my programs, key in my programs. I don't need anybody to call me as a person and begin to ask me, Dr. Omeibe, we saw your application. We want to know you. No. If I'm able to key in my details and the system is able to tell me instantly, okay, you can learn in person or online. I prefer it. I prefer it because as I'm keying in my information, I may be doing other things. And this person from the other end that is going to pick a phone to begin to call me or to ask me to call, if I pick my phone and begin to call a phone desk person or an administrative staff somewhere to get information that I need before doing a full application for learning. It is disrupting my own work. It is disrupting the work at the other end. But if I'm just having a platform where I key in my information and it immediately answers my question, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for now. And to be honest, I no longer run applications to institutions that have to be calling me now and there every day to ask me one form of question or the other. If the system is not able to answer me these questions, I will leave and go to another one. Probably because I'm a productivity professional. So let's in our knowledge management techniques or mechanisms or systems, let us provide information that will quickly serve people, that will break that that will eliminate that barrier or that influx of one person interacting with the other person at the other end. Because the technology that we have now, the technology advancement that we have achieved in today's world have made it very, very possible for us to have such. So we should not be managing knowledge in such a way that we are still creating problems and causing difficulties for people. Of course, we should not forget that after COVID-19, this world has never remained the same again. People are dealing with a whole lot. And we should be able, as individual organizations, to be part of solutions to every person's problem. And becoming part of solutions to the next person's problem is not creating problems for them. Making things easy for them. Improving their life. And ensuring that we are not adding to anybody's stress. So let me even say this. Effective knowledge management is not just about productivity. It is about making the world a better place wherever you are. And I want to tell us that we just don't need to commit this thing to heart. We need to begin to implement them. We need to begin to learn how to implement them. And we need to begin to invest, if nothing, begin to invest our interest in having a very strong knowledge management systems in our homes, in our churches, in our organizations, in government, or anywhere that we find ourselves. So the final slide so that we can close. Now, this is a very interesting slide. I want all of us to pay attention. Some of us have been acquainted with productivity before we became fellows of this center. But I can tell us that there is significant improvement and the cutting-edge transformation in our career life when we became professionals of productivity. And I want to read out some few things about CeProd. The role of CeProd in your productivity. Please, let us listen attentively. If you are not a member of this professional organization and you know you are qualified, you know you're supposed to be here, do not delay after today. CeProd became a legal entity on 11 December 2008. And is a full-fledged registered company with RC number 30518. The Center for Public Service Productivity and Development, CeProd, was registered as a non-governmental and non-profit organization. A world-class productivity center in Africa. I can attest to that. The centrality of productivity to all sectors of the African economy calls for concerted effort and measures to reverse the declining trends in the productivity of third world economies. I would say that this statement, this particular paragraph, is something that I would like every development person. It's not just those that are in a productivity professional. Are you someone like me with interest in development of Africa and the world at large? There is need for us to be able to rally our activities around productivity. Because what lack of productivity is doing to us as growing economies, it's better to be margined. So I repeat this statement, this particular paragraph. The centrality of productivity to all sectors of the Africa economy calls for concerted efforts and measures to reverse the declining trends in the productivity of third world economies. Are you not aware that there is declining trends in the productivity of third world economies, both in the private and the public sector? It may be worse in the public sector, but even in the private sector, it is also there. Hence the intervention of this powerful center, CeProd. What are we waiting for? Invite people, refer hybrid professionals to us. Let us grow in numbers. Let us grow in value. And let us grow in ideas so that the intervention we are talking about is something that will become an everyday reality in Nigeria, in Africa, and the rest of the world. Thank you very much. And I thank you while I read some of the awareness campaigns in national and international publications. We have what we call how Nigeria's GDP can increase. The Sun newspaper, 22nd May 2021. We have use PR to curb strife, that is, use public relations to curb strife and boost productivity. We have this in modern.
Okay. Basi, go to the next slide. That's just the publications.
Okay. Then our membership benefits. We show our members the best productivity principles, values, standards, and practices as a crucial factor in performance of the organizations and businesses. This is a fact. Our members understand that increasing personal productivity raises their living standard and enhances national productivity. Yes. And I would like to make this statement. I said, I forgot it some time ago when I came to chair one of these lecture series. I have been a professional for like maybe 13 years or thereabout, 13, 14 or 15 years before I joined CeProd. But it was in CeProd training that I learned a productivity tactics that today, even my domestic staffs, they are all practicing it. Even the janitor in my company, and they are telling me, Madam, this thing you told us is helping. It is in CeProd that I heard when you wake up in the morning, before you do anything, go and take your bath, go and brush, go and tidy yourself and take good care of yourself, very good care of yourself, before you begin to lift a finger for your family, for your organization, for your church, for this, for that, because there is a renewed energy that you get, and there is a clarity that you get. There is a special, invigoration, vitality that comes to you when you do that. And at the end of the day, you'll be more productive because you have gathered yourself, you've taken care of. This Dr. Maureen was not like that before I joined CeProd, because I was involved in so many things that when I wake up in the morning, even sometimes I'll be, if my driver knows, sometimes I'm combing my hair in the car. Even sometimes I'm wearing my jacket inside the car. But CeProd made me to say, hell no, I've been getting it wrong. So now I wake up, whatever, even if heaven is falling, I must wake up in the morning. After my prayers, I must have my bed. I have told all the people that are working for me, with me, I need, if you come, and for instance, if I have to be very overtly early in the office and you come and I want to have my tea, please put whatever thing you are doing somewhere until I'm done with that, my breakfast. If heaven is going to fall, let it fall. And to the glory of God, since I started it, I've been more productive. The headache that I used to have, the frustration, and sometimes even fever. I used to have fever because sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm not able to have my bath. I'll just wash my face, brush my teeth. I'm going for a meeting here, I'm going, and I'm gone. Yes, maybe because I had my bath previously, people may not know, and I'm also fair. People may not know that this madam did not even have have her full bath. When I joined, I needed to share this because I know it will bless someone. I have my bed, I dress my bed, I do basic things, and I now step out. I now sit quietly in the car and I'm nourished. And then I am more productive because when I go and sit in my office, the way I will work for that day, I will not break down in the middle. Please, as you are becoming productive professionals, gather yourself first. Take care of yourself first before you go to take care of work or other things. So with this, I say thank you very much for lending me your ears, and to the leadership of CeProd, you are blessing us every day, and it is an honor, to be part of you, lend our voice, our ideas, and of course, roll with all the professionals in the body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Maureen Omeibe. We have been listening to her. I warned you from the beginning. I said we have a loaded lecture here this morning, and you can all see that she has made the thing so simple. Even though the lecture time was not enough, she has tried her best to compress it. Probably I will advise the center next time. We can break it into two, part one, part two, so that we can gain more. But as far as we are concerned, we have gained more. And Dr. Maureen, we are very grateful for your talk. We will have just few moments for question and answer. Dr. Maureen can take note with the session of question and answer, which is just for a few minutes. So if you have a question, you can just indicate by raising up your hand, and then Dr. Maureen will answer you. Can you all hear me?
You are quite audible.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my question, Dr. Kimusi, my question is, how can you and the organization manage the knowledge of its staff when you have a situation where the superior officers tend to be afraid of the comprehensive of superior knowledge coming from subordinates?
Dr. Maureen, can you get that? We are going to batch it. Let's get one more question or two.
Okay. I would like to restate his question to be sure that I got it.
Okay. Yeah, the question is this: how in an organization where they're talking about managing the organizational knowledge, you will have superior officers, but who tend to seem to be apprehensive of superior knowledge from subordinates that will help the organization perform better. How do you handle the scenario?
Okay. All right. I've taken note of that question. Are we waiting for a second question, or I should just respond to this particular one?
Let's take about three. Just
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc. Please, thank you for a well-packed presentation. Please, when you were discussing, when you are explaining knowledge economy, you made mention of grants.
Yeah.
That having available grants in Nigeria maybe will affect knowledge economy. I didn't really understand how grant was part of it when you were talking about it. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Because
Thank you
I was following the discussion, but when you now say that grants, like in Nigeria, we can see that we don't have enough grants, nowhere to see grants. So I was like, what has that grant to do with the knowledge economy within an institution? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's your name?
Okay, Dr. Florence Tochukwu Sebodo.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest also if we're answering question or asking question, we introduce ourselves, your name, where you are speaking from. It will help. Thank you.
If possible, you enable your video.
Okay. I'm Dr. Florence Tochukwu Sebodo. I'm speaking from Nnewi, Anambra
Okay.
State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've gotten your question, ma.
Yeah, thank you.
The next one. You can raise up your hand with the raise up hand button.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay,
go ahead.
To my dog for that wonderful presentation.
Please, your name and where you're speaking from.
Yes, Reverend Abba from Lokoja, Kogi State.
Okay.
Credence to that wonderful presentation by Doctor. I want to also thank, I'll be passionate about this. My question goes this way. She well presented about productivity in our private sector, because I was privileged to be a director of the Entrepreneurship Development Center of the North Central in Makurdi. And how do you terms in terms of managing or measuring the productivity in such an entrepreneurship organization? How one can be able to measure productivity in regards to that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, man.
Thank you very much, Reverend Abba. I've gotten 3 questions. Do I go ahead to respond?
Yes, ma'am, you can go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. The person that asked the first question, I want to believe you are a very serious professional, because this is one of the major challenges that we are facing in organizations, especially organizations that runs a hierarchical, methodologies of leadership. There is always this struggle. There is this strive in trying to exchange knowledge, trying to share knowledge amongst the hierarchies. And it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be if we understand that when it comes to knowledge, no single person has monopoly of knowledge. And the knowledge transfer, running a cyclic or a secular platform, it's always better than the up and down and the down and up that the early management theories introduced to organizations. The secular vision of knowledge gathering or knowledge exchange is always better. And research has proven that those organizations that practices this secular vision of knowledge gathering and sharing, they are the most agile organizations around the world. The way they move and the way they charge to challenges in both external and internal environments of the organization is magnificent, is fantastic. The way they move quickly to face challenges. But these people that are expressing that feeling of superiority and difficulties in accepting from especially their subordinates, they are always, if you go deep, you find out that they are growing, but not as much as they're supposed to. And then I will go straight to the question you asked. How can somebody, share knowledge or conduct or actively engage in an effective knowledge management practice in an environment where your superiors believe or they are apprehensive, they are not open to you bringing in your feed because they feel or they want to believe or they want to position, egocentrically that they are better than you. These are things that has been addressed in leadership for over, it's over 50 years ago that people begin to talk about this in leadership. How to go about it is this. you are going to use what I may call backward integration approach. You now begin to converse to have policies that will enable staffs to make contributions that does not go directly to their immediate subordinates. If you have a place where you put suggestion into, some organizations have grown to a point where to kill that kind of practices in their organizations, they have put suggestion box as strategic places, and they made it like, if you are in this department, we are coming to put your suggestion in another person, in another department's box, so that it is not your immediate superior who picks it up. It is another person entirely that picks it up. As far as those organizations are concerned, they want to see what you are talking about even before that's your immediate superior. I think it is to follow that avenue. The confrontational approach, as far as I know, has never worked. It has not been working, even till now it's not working. So, but if you go behind to bring in your feed and made it that he is not the person that will be accessing that feed first, you find out that people will begin to come to him and say, hey, this, and this is what I think you should be doing in your organization, especially if the person that will be receiving it is such a person that have a responsibility that is tied to the growth and the development of the organization. So this is one approach. Campaigning for your organization to have a place where fees can be thrown out generally without having to submit it to a particular superior, who may eventually even receive it from you, but throw it to the dustbin by the time you had exited his or her office. So that is one way, to go about it. Then another way to go about it is to do it in a formal, in a formal proposal. Proposal means you have a particular information or a particular suggestion to introduce to the knowledge systems of your organization. But because you know that if you isolate that particular knowledge feed, if you isolate it, somebody will not take it. You now look at other things that is by the side and put it together. Submit all of them as a proposal to that particular office that may not naturally have taken your own suggestion. You put it there, you just tell the person that you just want to see if this can work. If you don't present it that it is coming from, you can even say that this is what I came across somewhere and I'm presenting it to you. Just look at, you may read everything as you have brought it as an official proposal. Remember that official proposal, it will go to your superior, but there will always be a copy that will go to the next person. There is a next person that will always receive your proposal. Even if you are submitting or reporting to him directly, there is always a next person. There is a copy of your own when he receives. In that, if he didn't do anything, you'll be able to take another step, to see that what you are bringing in as a feed for effective knowledge management in your organization is taken. But please, do not stay silent. Do not stay silent. A lot of organizations die down because people that know what's supposed to have, lifted the organization from the dungeon or from their quagmire, stayed silent because their superiors were shutting them down. So that the gentleman that asked that first question, I hope this answered your question.
Yes, I am grateful, Ma. Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. That question is a very, very important question you asked. Then the second one, Dr. Florence Semoda, thank you. You also asked a very, very important question. You said that you didn't understand how grants came into the subject of discussion. You remember that we said that knowledge management is creation, sharing, consumption, and storage of information. You remember?
Yes.
That, madam, do you know that you cannot create knowledge without research? You will always research. It is always important. When there are certain types of knowledge you need to harvest that without conducting a research, you cannot lay your hands on it. For instance, I have a particular one in mind which I want to do in the nearest future. And that has to do with transforming the family business to global enterprise. There is nowhere I will just go and punch and I'll get all the information I need, because I'm talking about family business in Nigeria. So for me to be able to conduct that research, it is either Dr. Omeibe funds that research or my organization funds it. And I can tell you that sometimes certain researches. There is an interruption from the background, please. Can I continue? Can I continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So, madam, there are certain research that organizations cannot fund by themselves. And do not forget, when researches are done, it is published and it is shipped to the marketplace for other people to access it. So if there are certain research, even the one I talked about now, if I'm able to execute it and it is done and it is brought to the marketplace, it is no longer a value that is just inherent to my own organization alone or to my own professional concern or interest. It is now going to benefit all family businesses in Nigeria who have interest in transforming their businesses. And what happens when all family business in Nigeria transform their business? They are bringing growth and development catalysts to the Nigerian economy. And whether the government like it or not, they are the end benefit of even the research that Dr. Omeibe will be conducting. So in the developed nations, because they know how these things work, because they understand, sorry, they understand the relationship between this, creating this knowledge, shipping it to the marketplace, and ensuring that the right people that are in need of this knowledge are consuming it. They understand how it works. So their government decides to create funds that they make available so that when you have interest, for instance, as an individual, professional, or an organization, if you have interest in conducting those research, they can provide support. They may not give you 100% grant to run your research work, but they can give you 50%. They can give you 60%, depending on your eligibility and, of course, the funds that are available. They can give you something that will enable you to conduct that research because they know that at the end of the day, you are not actually the one that will benefit from it. As a matter of fact, a researcher is not always the one that consumes the research work. A researcher hardly consumes the research work. It is always for other people. And I would like to also add, it is always not even the consumers that benefit. The economies where the consumers are operating benefit. And look at it, when the economy is booming, who is actually benefiting? While individual citizens are benefiting, government is also benefiting because individual citizens, as they are benefiting, they are paying taxes to government. They are growing the economies where those governments are in leadership. So the grant I mentioned is that Nigerian, as I know today, because I have sought for one, do not have available grant to support researchers. For now, the research work that they are sponsoring are those research work that are emanating from the parastatal agencies and the arms of government. As far as it's an individual organization that wants to conduct that research, the funding it may be possible, but it is always going to be very difficult. You will pass through a lot of challenges and hurdles before you access it. But this is not how it is, for instance, in China. This is not how it is, for instance, in Singapore. At least I know about these two countries. And of course, I also know that in the US, they have research grants for researchers, for research institutions. And by the way, it is not only research institutions that conduct research. Professionals conduct research. Organizations conduct research. Sometimes organizations approach research institutions to conduct research on their behalf. Those institutes, we ask them to bring in resources, part of the resources that they will be requiring to conduct the research. So that is where grant comes in. And it is important for us to understand that these grants are not readily available, so that when we want to conduct our research, we will not be disappointed when we find out that we don't have the resources. We will not be disappointed. Rather, we will find a way of looking for financial resources and other resources that will be required to conduct our researches, because there is no new knowledge anywhere. The one we are calling new knowledge, somebody did it elsewhere and they shifted it to the marketplace, and that is why we are able to access it. And before it got to that marketplace, somebody paid for it. So even when we are paying to get it, it's a subsidized payment you are making. Because if it is for you to pay fully for the work, you can't pay for it. So that is it, Madam Dr. Semoda. I believe I answered your question.
Sorry, Sibeldo. Florence Sibeldo. Thank you very much, ma, for the explanation.
Right. Thank you.
No, I became very interested in that grant when you mentioned, but somehow, maybe due to network, I didn't understand your explanation.
Okay, yes. All right.
Yes, but from what you have explained, I think where we have a gap is the integration of the implementers and the producers. Because you have, just like you mentioned, there are research grants for maybe producers of evidence, which are maybe academic staff and all that. But there is a gap because I understood that there is no integration from your explanation. Because if a producer of research evidence know that he has to integrate the implementers, both sides will come together for a research. But exactly. What happens in Nigeria is that researchers who are academic staff, they kept producing evidence which are not being utilized. But if you have an idea, of research, of what you want to do, but you are not a researcher. What happens is that you can sell the idea to a researcher, and that researcher will be part of the team while your industry is part of the team.
Yeah.
When the research is being then you can get grant from government. That's what I was looking at when you said there was no grant. While I know that there are grants for academic staff, but just that I now understood that they are not doing the research collaboration with industries. That's what I learned now. Yes.
There's no question. All right, thank you very much.
Because that is exactly what is happening in SciWest, Students Industrial Scheme in Nigeria. Because during your training, you are supposed to go to industries, both private and government, for learning skills. So from there, after training, you can also conduct research. But I think there's a gap, maybe policy gap or something. Yeah. But that's a good knowledge today. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Yes. So Reverend Abba, you talked about measuring productivity. Okay. If we have thank you very much. If we have another opportunity as CeProd, I would actually like us to delve into measurement of productivity and standards, because it is important we make it a very, very solid learning base for productivity professionals. Reason being that what is a productive factor in your organization may not necessarily be a productive factor in my own organization. When we are talking about productivity and measurement, it is we just want to bring people to standards, and then from that standard, they can now begin to find their own measurement pillars within their organization. But I will say this: how do you measure productivity? The best answer I will provide you, Reverend, is that the best way to measure your productivity is to determine your ability to respond to shocks in the environment of your organization as quickly as possible. How long does it take you to respond to shocks in your organization? Highly productive organization, I have come to know, something about them is that they have agility. They have agility. There is no slow. They have a very clean and sharp process. There is no clog, in their processes. There is no clog in their processes. And mostly productive organizations, they are also flexible. So number one thing that I want to believe, irrespective of whatever is your industry and whatever kind of service or product that you are involved in, are you able to respond to shocks? Are you able to respond to challenges? Are you able to respond to unforeseen circumstances quickly in your organization? If the answer is no, then you are not doing well, productive-wise. Because when we are talking about productivity, what are we talking about? We are talking about conversion of input to output with a very limited resources in time, in money, in intellect. Time, money. When we are talking about money, of course, we need to know that there are certain things that cannot be quantified monetarily, but we can quickly call them money. For instance, during COVID-19, an organization that is productive, it will take them like a month to begin to organize how to hold the administrative staff meetings over the Zoom. It can take them 1 week to be able to determine that, we are now having our weekly administrative staff meeting over the Zoom. Other companies, it will take them 1 month. Some other companies, even 2 months, they are still talking about how are we going to do. When there is a process flow, that the processes aren't moving, there is a lot of time being spent in decision making. There is a lot of money being spent. And of course, a lot of intellectual materials are on the table, unutilized. Then you can say that they are not doing well productive-wise. So, but like I mentioned, depending on the kind of products and services, on the kind of operations that organizations are involved in, you cannot definitely say this is how I will measure. But what I am talking about here is the I would say the crystal clear measure factors of measurement in productivity. If you are wasting so much time as an organization and you are in public sector, I know you will know about this, that there is a lot of unproductiveness in the public sector in this country. Because of course, a file that ordinarily supposed to take a week, that file may take 2 months. And I'm not saying this out of the fact that somebody said it, because I am also at some point serving in the public sector. Because I've experienced it. If you go to renew your license, for instance, your product may even arrive from overseas.
Okay, thanks a lot.
That thing that takes 2-3 months. It may arrive by your file that's supposed to come out within 1 month is not out. Even sometimes.
I think Dr. Maureen is having issue with her internet access.
Okay.
Dr. Yahaya raised the hand. Does he have a question?
So what will happen is, like we've ended the lectures, and you are free to go if you have other engagements. But I will employ, let's take 3 more questions or comments. Then we will wind up.
Please, sir, I would love that you send the account over from Reverend Abba. Send the account. Please,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Nelson, send the account again in the chat
The
room.
account detail has been sent to the chat.
So, Mrs. Dr.
To
Maureen,
the chat,
yeah, he will send it now in the chat room. He will send the account number in the chat room. So as you can see, Dr. Maureen Omeibe has a lot of capacity and she's capable of taking us for the whole day, but we will not allow that so that she can do other things too. So let's listen to 3 more who have raised up hand now and previously. We will listen to Grace Pam. After Grace Pam, Ukwo Oche Clement, and after him, Dr. Yahaya Abdullahi, in that order. So just mention your name, your organization, or place you are talking from, and then you go ahead. Grace Pam.
Okay, thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Doc, for the lecture. My question is for those who are working.
Please, where you are speaking from or your organization, mention it.
Okay, so I am speaking from Jos, and I am the University of Jos. Okay. My question is a bit of a concern. So, as a member of CeProd, is there any for example, we've just had that for especially those working in the public sector. Productivity and excellence is something you would definitely struggle with. So in our bid to ensure standards and excellence and so on, when you do come against blockages and maybe even situations that are not right, do members of CeProd have any kind of leverage in form of umbrella covering where they can cry to and support? Because I'm sure that we know the system we're in, and if as members we're working hard to better ourselves, and we are also taking that excellence out, we face a lot. You get so frustrated in you trying to do this. Is this a family where you can get that kind of support to guide you when you do come against those against that kind of situation? Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. So next person. Next person.
The question is noted. Thank you, madam.
Yes, next person is I've mentioned earlier, Ukwo Oche Clement. Ukwo Oche, can you unmute? You are not unmuted. You are muted. Okay, while you are trying to get yourself set, can we listen? Ukwo Oche. Okay, while you are trying to unmute, let's listen to Dr. Yahaya Abdullahi.
Yes, a very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dr. Yahaya Abdullahi Mohammed. I am talking from Abuja. I am the executive chairman of Boshishi Group of Companies. I want to really commend the effort of CeProd, who are the organizers of these lectures. Lectures that is so powerful, very enriching, and of course, very beneficial, not just to us, the members, but I will say by extension, this is already shaping and molding policymakers by the grace of God among us, who, if given the opportunity to serve the country, they will bring this knowledge to bear, and they will no doubt distinguish themselves among their peers within the cabinet. by adding value to our economy, adding value to our country, and even, in helping to reboot our economic system. Because of even the present situation where the country finds itself struggling with the economic development, empowerment, on how to get us out of the wood. I think with these lectures, especially the last lecturer, Dr. Maureen, we need people like that. It's not just the lecture they give. It's not only the knowledge they impart, but the lecture session is not boring. You don't even need to miss, you don't take your eyes or take your ears off it, because it's exciting, it's interesting. So I think she's probably a lecturer who has really gotten that experience as well-polished lecturer, but maybe. So I would love to say that people like that, we need more of them time to time to come and wake us from sleep. And may God bless CeProd. May God bless the organizers. That's just my comment. That's all.
Okay,
No.
thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay. And I'm joining from Asaba, and my company is Briswell Industry. I want to say yes, that is a very good lecture, and also looking at CeProd, what are we doing about the private sector, because that is where you see large employees, and you also see the challenges in that sector. I can say as at the moment is highly unregulated. You see one-man business, and you see a lot of things going on there, and it's like everybody, even the government, less concerned. All they are concerned most is just tax, and then what goes on with workers' productivity, what goes on with how the workers are being treated. All these things we see deaf ears to all those things. What is CeProd doing in this line? How are we bringing the private sector into this? And then what are we doing to sensitize the private sector on issue of just let's take for instance the workers, because you can't talk about productivity without talking about workers. And you look at also the aspect of proper taking care of these workers. Some of them are paid peanuts, and you're expecting productivity and all this. I say this area is just largely government negligence, and we're just also focusing on public. But what about this private sector, one-man business, and all these things? What are we really doing about this area? I really want us to look at that. Thank you.
I think
Right.
all the contributions you have made so far, Dr. Omeibe should be able to handle.
Thank you very much. I think this last person that asked this question, I couldn't get your name very well. What's your name again?
Clement.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay, Clement from Asaba, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, Dr. Egbu, can I begin to respond to the questions?
Yes, you can respond to those that
yes, I wanted to say
need
that
to refer to others. You can also refer.
Yeah, please. I would like you to respond to the inquiry, because what the madam from Jos was actually saying is a very important inquiry she's making, And
Yeah.
in as much as I would say yes, I would like you to respond, to her. The inquiry she's making is the kind of positioning that we take when our members have some difficulties or have some issues, issues relating to productivity in their place of influence, whether we have an umbrella that can cover them. So I think you should be able to let her know to what
Yeah,
extent does
I
our
should be able.
center.
I should be able to answer that.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Grace Pam. And we understand what you are really saying. But Adeola Oloyede, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here, doctor.
Okay, so I would like you to address that because he's coming from public sector and you understand the intrigue and when you are trying to do things in excellent way. Oloyede is one of the governing council members, from a retired director in the public, head of service, so he can answer that.
Okay, sir.
Doctor, thank you. And our amiable lecturer, let me call you that, doctor. We are very grateful. You are doing a wonderful time. And the lecture is not even as much as the answer we are giving the question. It has given you the opportunity to be able to explain everything. Now, you see, public service will be better. I started very early. I came in as a first officer. And the way the training we are giving that time made us to believe that this is only something we have for Nigeria. And we need to put on our efforts. As the days go by, years go by, it became what? SLS is no longer recognized in the public service. And one of the problems that non-recognition of excellence brought about the service is non-productivity. It's massive. You need to go there. These days, I don't want to regret my career. I think I don't want to regret it. But I think there are some things I take away from there and helping me today. So when we talk about not be able to have knowledge in the public service. Look, let me tell you, the knowledge in the public service is massive. If you're able to grab some of the knowledge you have in the public service, then Nigeria will not be better. However, we are having problems today because Nigerians, public servants, are not really taking into work. They are always making the money that is there. So excellence will come about if we're able to go back to the way we were doing before. And I believe that the doctor has already told us about how knowledge can help productivity. And this, I believe, will go a long way to help us really. I do want to take a lot of your time because the public service, the public sector is a wonderful place that if we take consider of all this, we can be talking about it. Thank you, doctor.
Well, thank you very much.
So what I will say is that, Ms. Pam, after you contact me and we will talk about it more, there are certain things we will not share here.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Thank you. All right, sir. Noted.
Yeah. Okay, madam. Madam Pam.
All right. Thank you very much. Madam, let me get your name. Madam that asked that question. Grace, what's your surname, ma?
Pam. Grace Pam.
Grace.
Pam.
Grace Pam.
Okay, Pa. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. So I believe you are satisfied because the inquiry you made is something that needs to be strategically responded to, and it is better it is done afterwards. You will get what you are looking for better when it's discussed off this session. So I wait that when we are done with this session. Then the question from Mr. Clement is that Mr. Clement is more or less drawing our attention to the private sector, that is the informal sector, on the issue of poor productivity. Of course, while we are screaming public sector, it does not mean that it is all well with the private sector. No, it is not all well, especially those that are operating outside outside the formal sector. That like Mr. Clement mentioned, one-man business. I understand that terrain very well because that is where my organization actually started from. I understand how that goes, that works. So his question was, what is this CeProd doing, and how can we, what can we do to enable this class of the private sector to become more sensitive to the issues of productivity as it concerns workforce development and welfare? That is the summary of what Mr. Clement was trying to put across. And I think I can conveniently say that what we can do is, bringing this information, bringing the knowledge that we have been able to generate at the center, allowing that knowledge to trickle down to this class of, entrepreneurs in their own class. What I have come to realize is that most of them are operating in ignorance, and they are also operating in insufficiency because they don't have sufficient resources to engage at the level where even the staff welfare could become a matter of concern to them. They do not have that sufficiency. I know what I'm talking about. So, but the place we can start as an organization, as a body, as an association, a world-class association, is to find a pipeline where we can allow the knowledge that we are generating from this center to trickle down to them. Maybe I will have a further conversation with Dr. Ebu after this class and find if there is another way of sending our knowledge down to that class of operators. The thing is this, the platform we are using now, which is the email mostly, and then social media, some of them may not be even actively involved in this, utilization of this platform. So I think there may be some other thing that we can do, maybe a targeted campaign that will be gathering quite number of entrepreneurs at this level to begin to even share this information with them. Some of them also may have the resources. They may not be suffering from insufficiency, but just outright ignorance. And then, of course, what Mr. Clement also highlighted is the reality. Government and their regulatory agencies, they are not actually into the regulations to the point of actually determining the status of the welfare of the workforce of this caliber of organization. They are doing other regulatory, carrying out other regulatory obligations, but maybe they are also not, for now, ready to go, to that level, because of course there has to be, structures, there has to be policies, and there has to be wings that they can carry on if they want to go to that extent. But we as a body can, determine to do a targeted knowledge sharing campaign where we can reach out to these individuals. This is what I can, say to you, Clement, because what you say is actually a reality. A lot is happening there, and a lot is being done to. It is all mostly because of their ignorance, and mostly because of the environment of insufficiency where they are operating from. Because even sometimes some of them, they are not able to access funds to expand. And they are not able to do basic things. They're just merely managing, and it is very difficult to go in and begin to inquire for welfare of workers in places like that, because they will just tell you, what, I don't need this person again. In fact, I don't need the person. That is what mostly I see in the field. If you want to initiate strategies that can open employees at that level of training and development, and of course advancement of their career. So that is what I can respond with, Clement, for now, from what you have asked. Is that satisfactory, Mr. Clement? Or you have further questions?
Okay.
I think, Doctor, I think you can take over from here now so that we'll be able to wrap up everything.
All right, please go ahead, sir.
Dr. Ibu.
Yeah, Dr. Babe, can you round up?
Okay. I wanted to know whether you have any contribution to the whole talk before we round up, sir. Dr. Ibu.
You said you wanted to know whether
the DG has any additional thing you wanted to add before we round up.
Okay. On what we are doing on the private sector, we are doing
in general.
You say?
In general, sir.
Okay, in general. Okay.
Yes.
So we really appreciate all who came and participated in this program. And the important thing is taking to heart what you have listened. Another thing is practicing it. Because if you listen to a lecture and you didn't practice it, it will not be of value to you. But if you put them in practice, you would have gained one or two things. And as you are practicing it, you are doing more research and you are improving your organization. And yes, we really appreciate Dr. Maureen Omeibe for coming. Last year, it was more of men-dominated presentations. But this year, it will be women-dominated presentation. Because
That's
next month,
that's very good.
Because next month, we are going to have another lady, Associate Professor Miriam Abudu from Kaduna State University. And after that, in April, we're also going to have another lady from abroad, Sonia, who is the, I think, technical assistant to our president. She will make a presentation. So continue to come around and see the resources you can have to improve your both public and private sector, because the center is not just about public sector, it includes private sector, because most of our members are in private sector. And you can see the testimony of Dr. Maureen Omeibe, which many have. More than 300 fellows and members of the center have one testimony to give on how they have benefited from the center, including myself, because they say knowledge is power. If you have the right knowledge, you are going to succeed in whatever you are doing. So we appreciate all. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry for taking much time. It's because of the person will have a lot of capacity to keep us here even till evening. We will be wanting to stay more. So thanks a lot. Over to the chairman. Bye-bye.
Okay,
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. We are grateful. We also use this opportunity to thank some of the public council members who are present here. Engineer Dr. Akande is here. Mr. Abel is here. Mr. Oluwapelumi. And then I've already acknowledged the presence of Dr. Oloyede. We are grateful for this opportunity and we really appreciate it. Looking forward to next month's lecture. Dr. Maureen, we are grateful. Thank God for your life. So please, members, for those who have not been able to become members, you can contact the center and have your membership form. It's very simple. You will enjoy it, even from the testimony of those who attended last. Thank you, everyone. Every person, you are welcome. Hoping to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well done, sir.
Thank you to the center for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.